Get the squad together for this year's Junior Grizzlies 3-on-3 tournament, presented by 2K at the Built Ford Tough practice facility inside FedEx Forum. On Saturday, January 4th, teams will compete in 3 games before advancing to single elimination play. Overall winners from the 10 and under, 12 and under, and 14 and under divisions will win Grizzlies tickets, including exclusive access to the pregame team shoot-around before the Grizz take on the Pelicans January 24th. Sign up today at hoopitup.com/Grizzlies.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals takes it straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item. Whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
Live from the Built Ford Tough studio at FedEx Forum, it's the Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South, on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Now, here's your host, Gary Parrish.
All right. I'm here. My name is Gary Parrish. I'm speaking to you from Midtown Manhattan, New York City. Bennett Doyle back in Memphis producing the program. Glad he's with me. Glad you're with me. Hope you're getting through the day best you can. And I hope your new year is off to a nice start. The Grizzlies haven't played yet in 2025, but that'll change tomorrow when they visit the Kings in Sacramento. And they'll head there in possession of the second-best record in the West and also one of the longest status updates in the entire NBA. We'll talk all things Grizz momentarily. First, though, quickly, let me set today's schedule for you. In the next segment, about 20 minutes from now, Mike Wallace is going to join me, senior editor, Grind City Media. He had a piece up, grindcitymedia.com, that touched on, the Grizzlies' injuries, most notably a fresh one to Ja Morant, but also about the turnover issues that haven't really messed up the season, given they got the second-best record in the West, but it has been a problem lately. Jaren Jackson spoke about it specifically. Mike Wallace is going to be here in the next segment. I'll talk to him all things Grizz. We'll do it about 10:20. Want to finish talking to Mike, take a break, come back, do 5 more things you need to know, at which point we're going to discuss 5 previously undiscussed stories. Among them, Penny Hardaway's Tigers going to return to the court tonight for the first time since blowing out Ole Miss last weekend. It's Memphis at Florida Atlantic. I'll get you ready for that. We'll do it in about 40 minutes. Texas, Ohio State, and Penn State have punched their tickets to the college football playoff semifinals. Texas-Arizona State was an instant classic. Ohio State-Oregon was a instant blowout. We'll talk through the college football playoff. We'll do that a little later on in the show. We still have one more college football playoff quarterfinal to go, and that's because a maniac used a truck as a weapon on Bourbon Street and killed at least 15 people. Happy New Year. We'll spend some time on that in the third segment. Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons has said he ain't trying to tank the final game of the season. It's a mindset that could cost the Titans dramatically in the 2025 NFL draft, depending on how things go this weekend. Tennessee could pick either first or seventh. We'll get Bennett's thoughts on Jeffrey Simmons' thoughts. We'll do that in the second hour. And LeBron James' second son, Bryce, has publicly committed to play college basketball at a Big 12 program. I'll tell you where he's headed. We'll do it during a segment we call 5 More Things You Need to Know. Then we'll eventually do GP's carry out, and we'll call it a day. So that's the rundown. We got a lot to get to, but I did want to start, if you don't mind, with your Memphis Grizzlies, who are now 23-11 through 34 games. Alone in second in the West, 5 games back of Oklahoma City. The Thunder seem like they're headed for a second straight number 1 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. So that's the good news. The Grizzlies are coming off a win in Phoenix and in possession of the second best record in the West, heading into a game tomorrow night at Sacramento. And they're doing this despite still leading the entire NBA in the number of games missed by players because of injuries. All things considered, can't complain. But just because the Grizz are doing well while constantly being shorthanded doesn't mean that it's fun that the Grizzlies are constantly shorthanded, which is my way of telling you, yeah, Ja Morant is hurt again. This time it's an AC joint sprain suffered in last Friday's win in New Orleans. The Pelicans, Daniel Tice set a hard screen, no whistle blown. Ja went down immediately, left the court, did not return to the game. He subsequently missed a loss in Oklahoma City, a win in Phoenix, officially listed as week to week right now. So per usual, it's unclear when we'll see the franchise point guard back in uniform again. Big Bet Bennett, Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed your vacation. I'm going to get an official review from you a little later on, but let me start by asking you your mood. Let's do a mood check. It's 2025, and the Grizzlies are alone in second in the West. That's tremendous. Yep. But Ja's hurt again, and I'm tired of seeing Ja in street clothes as opposed to his uniform. Are you more thrilled about the record or more frustrated that we're dealing with stupid injury stuff again, even if it's obviously not as bad as it A, was last season, or B, has been for other franchises this season, at least at the tip top of the roster?
I feel a little bit better than I did a few days ago. Happy New Year to you too, by the way. When the injury report came out, I mean, come on. Like, I was like everybody else, like, are you serious? This is last season. Like, this is we're going through last season again. I think the big difference is a lot of the injuries that are on the injury report right now appear to be, I'm not going to say not major because we don't really know, but it appears like most of the guys on the injury report probably closer to being ready to play than not ready to play, I guess I would say. So I felt better. And then obviously they get the win in Phoenix, which was super good. But again, with Ja, like, that's, of course you're concerned. Like, you can't not be concerned. You know, it's the shoulder he got surgery on that he injured. So until he's like, ramping up and close to getting back, yeah, you're concerned. I mean, it just is what it is, right?
Particularly where, we can keep emphasizing the 23-11 record, and we will, because why not? But, it's not against the toughest schedule in the NBA. And going forward, the Grizzlies are going to have one of the toughest, if not the most challenging schedules in the NBA. And now we know, at least for a little bit of it, they're going to have to navigate it without Ja Morant. I don't know, what you can do other than be frustrated. I mean, he just ran into a screen that a large man set. And, it was a hard screen. People can, debate the intent. But he just took a shot. And, he's for all of his gifts, he is a slight guy. And, his body is not built to take shots the way, say, LeBron James' body is built to take shots. But it's not one of those things where you can go, oh, God, here we are again with the same thing. Like, this isn't Kawhi Leonard's knee or Joel Embiid's knee. This is just something like, if I ran into the exact same screen, it might have done the exact same thing to my shoulder. It doesn't mean injury prone as much as it means just unlucky and unfortunate to a frustrating degree. But either way, the end result's the same. Ja Morant's going to be out, sideline, reevaluated on a week-to-week basis. And I saw Mark Giannotto, former columnist at the Commercial Appeal, now with USA Today, tweet when this news was made official, that it's been nearly 2 years since we've watched Ja Morant play 5 games in a row. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I know we all know the story, right? There's injuries, there's the suspension, but it's still like, until you hear it framed that way, it's just a weird thing to think about. It's been nearly 2 years since he's played 5 games in a row. Like in AAU, you might play 5 games in one day.
Right.
And yet for the past 2 years in the NBA, he has not played nearly 2 years, hasn't played 5 games in a row, which, again, we all understand why, but it's still just a weird thing to hear said out loud.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the one good thing, and again, we saw it in the Phoenix game the other night, like this team, I think even more so than last year, is really built to win even without him. I'm not saying that they built the roster like assuming that they're not going to have him for stretches this season, but they have built a really nice roster that can stay afloat with him out, with him missing games, with him missing time. So I think that's the one positive. Like Jaren and Des were great the other night in the Phoenix game. That's something that you want to see those two guys lead the way, especially when he's out. But yeah, like you said, man, this stretch is tough for them. Their next 9 games, like, I don't think they're going to. Dude, they could lose all 9. Like, they could. I mean, it's just they're playing great teams for these next 9 games, or really good teams in some cases. So, yeah, it's the injury thing is concerning, but I still feel more positive than concerned about it, yeah.
Sure. I mean, yeah, this isn't last season. Let's not ever forget that.
Right.
We're still sitting here at 23-11, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be frustrating. Just because it's not as bad as last season doesn't mean it can't also be frustrating. On Des real quick, just, we had talked as he struggled returning from injury, struggled through the month of November about whether he was just having a bad month, because sometimes you have bad months as a basketball player or anything else, I guess, or if it was still just like lingering uncomfortable stuff from the injury that was preventing him from being everything he had been previously. And, if you've been watching in recent weeks, and I know we've been in and out, it's been a little choppy, so we haven't been consistent.
Yeah, what day is it?
I mean, really, it's Thursday, I gather, but I'm not 100% sure of it. It doesn't feel like Thursday, but when I looked at my phone, it suggested it was Thursday. But yeah, I think we're all going through that because Christmas falls in the middle of the week, New Year's falls in the middle of the week. Just stuff as simple as, like, when do you take your garbage cans out to the street is sort of something you need to think about over the past couple of weeks. So we haven't been here, after every game or before every game. So it's been a little uneven when to talk about things, when to address things. But we did spend time in recent weeks discussing Desmond Bane's subpar play relative to what he's been capable of. And I say all that to say he's back to being what he was. Like his December numbers looked a lot like his October numbers. The November stuff just tied to the injury. And so he's back to looking the way he looked previously, all-star level guard. Jaren Jackson Jr. looking like all-star level big. But we still are yearning for the time when we can have all 3 of those guys. The 3, faces of the franchise on the court and healthy at the same time. And even though the season is going well, we haven't had that as much as we'd like. Obviously, we noted the status report didn't just have Ja Morant on it heading into the Phoenix game. It was lengthy. And also sidelined for that game, Santi Aldama with an ankle sprain, Brandon Clark with a calf issue, Gigi Jackson still recovering from foot surgery, Jake LaRavia, ankle sprain, Marcus Smart got a finger injury, Vince Williams, ankle sprain, and then there was Zach Edey placed in concussion protocol after emerging with a black eye.
Dude, Bennett, what happened?
Oh, Bennett. I mean, I know a Grizzlies Blu-ray player when I see one.
I don't think that's what happened.
I know a Grizzlies Blu-ray player when I see one.
Nah, I know he's a rookie. I don't know if anyone on this team's stepping to Zach. I don't think so. I don't think that's what happened. Nah.
I know a Grizzlies Blu-ray player when I see one.
No, but I really don't remember in the previous game before he emerged with a black eye. Like, I don't remember a play where he got hit in the eye and was grabbing his face or anything like. Maybe it happened in practice or something like that. I don't think it happened over a game. I do not, or over a card game. I will go out on a limb and say this was probably basketball related.
Fool me once.
Nah.
Fool me twice. Sounds like somebody likes to play cards on the plane.
No, man. This is a basketball related injury. I stand on that.
Well, send me the clip.
Okay.
You got
Nobody
the clip?
stepping to Zach Edey, bro. Come on. We've seen enough this season. We know he's built for it. Like,
I know a Boo Ray player when I see one.
Okay. I'll do some digging.
You know what? Like, it really could be. Like, it could just be he's tall, walking around places he's never walked around before, and at some point you hit your head. Yeah,
that's fair.
Like I slammed my head in my trunk like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, I hit my head on my trunk very hard. I like almost gashed my head, and that's just me as a little fella.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine walking around like Zach Edey all the time. How many times you hit your head? So it's probably that he probably just accidentally bumped his head because he's 7'4", or he got caught up in an intense game of Boo Ray. You never know.
You never know.
You never really can say for sure, but hopefully he'll that black guy will heal up soon.
Yep.
Hopefully that'll heal up soon. Hopefully he'll be out of concussion protocol soon. Don't want to rush it. Don't play around with head injuries, Bennett. You know that as well as I do.
Yeah.
We're not going to rush it, but hopefully he's out of concussion protocol soon and able to return to the starting lineup, because he had been playing well, not without exception, ups and downs like any other rookie, but had been playing well, and once again reminding us that it looks like when we look back on the 2024 NBA draft, we're not going to regret the Grizzlies using a top 10 pick on the two-time National Player of the Year. Very quickly in Summer League, he looked the part, and up until he had to be placed in concussion protocol, was consistently, not without exception, but consistently looking the part. Mike Wallace, senior editor, Grind City Media. He's been on the road with your Memphis Grizzlies, so he'll check in with us next. We'll get his thoughts on Ja Morant, on concussion protocol, on the turnover issues that the Grizzlies are facing. Mike Wallace going to join me next. This is Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzly stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
Grizz Nation, it's time to send Ja, Jaren, and Des to the 2025 All-Star Game.
Oh! What did we just see, partner?
Take three! Take three!
Bane for three.
Bingo!
Desmond Bane heating it up.
Blocked by Jaren!
Most versatile power forward in the game today.
Head to NBA.com/vote, the NBA app, or simply use the QR code on the screen to send your Grizzlies to the All-Star Game today.
Our fans have a huge impact on our ability to play to the level that we're striving for.
Drop off, Morant. Oh! Well, you wanted home crowd involvement.
I love those moments where you see our guys engaging in the fans, and the fans just get pumped up.
They are standing in FedEx Forum.
I would hate to be on the other side with the opposition when FedEx Forum's rolling. That's such an unbelievable relationship that our group has with our fans.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering, to those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
But if there's a way to address that. Welcome back. Gary Parrish Show presented by Ortho South. I'm in New York City. Bennett Doyle back inside the Bill Ford Tough studio, FedEx Forum downtown Memphis. And I believe Mike Wallace, senior editor, Grind City Media, is in Sacramento. Mike Wallace, can you confirm, are you in Sacramento already?
No, I'm not in Sacramento. As the cactus behind me would tell you, I'm still in Phoenix. We leave Phoenix today to get to Sacramento. So
I see.
In there.
I see what happened. I know this trick. Hey, we could either go to Sacramento immediately after the Phoenix game, or we can stay at a 5-star resort in Phoenix. What do you guys want to do? You picked Phoenix over Sacramento. I think most franchises do that.
Yeah, no question at all, man. It's an easy choice. It's an easy choice when it comes to that. So, like I said, they'll get a practice in today at the Phoenix Mercury facility, and then head on up to Sacramento, man, which got a big time win last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. So, everything's good. Looking forward to practicing a few, and then, but always good. We're coast to coast, Gary. We're literally coast to coast right now with you in New York and me heading west.
Look at us. We're covering multiple time zones here between me, you, and Bennett. Before we get to the Grizzlies, do want to hit you with some breaking news from ESPN. Jaden Ivey, Pistons guard, whose mother used to work in the Grizzlies organization. It has been diagnosed. He suffered a broken fibula in his left leg. That sounds like out for the season. So as I'm sitting here in the opening segment lamenting AC joint sprain for Ja Morant, I should remind myself it has been worse and it could be worse. It is worse in Detroit right now.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse, man. And first and foremost, you got to, give your thoughts and recovery, speedy recovery out to Jaden Ivey and his mom, Niele. I mean, obviously, Niele worked with the Grizzlies for a few years, when Taylor was first getting started. I had a chance to work with her on media training, one-on-one with her when she was with the Grizzlies, and then she went on to Notre Dame, obviously, and is doing a great job there. So that family, man, Jaden used to come to the Grizzlies workouts and practices. And, he got tutelage from Ja Morant and some of the guys that were around the team at that time. So you hate to see this. He finally got into a situation where he was having a career year, putting up the kind of numbers, 17-4-4 for a Pistons team that was fighting for, a playoff spot in the East this year after last year's dread. So hopefully speedy recovery. That's it for him this season. And hopefully he can get back as soon as possible next season.
Let's talk Grizzlies. You're in Phoenix right now. That's the site of a big bounce back win. That wasn't guaranteed, obviously. You get smacked around at Oklahoma City, understandably so, given the injury situations and given that, that is the team by far with the best record in the West. But you go to Phoenix and, very shorthanded, able to win that game, even with Ja Morant in street clothes. We'll talk about Ja in a second. But first, you've been around this team in ways that most of us have not. What's been the mood around getting that win in Phoenix the way they were able to get it earlier this week?
As Taylor Jenkins talked about, after the game, that attitude started at shoot-around. I mean, they showed up, I was at the shoot-around, and they showed up in a real business-minded, mentality. It wasn't a lot of guys there because there's a lot of guys on the injury report. So, the 9 or 8 or 9 or, whatever guys that they had available for that shoot-around were all locked in that shoot-around. Taylor went around to each individual that was going to be active that game and had a one-on-one talk, as they were warming up. And then, obviously we get escorted out once they get started with the work from a media standpoint. But, the bottom line is that these guys know they've been in this position before. They've had to endure a lot, without Ja Morant and some of their big-time guys available. And that goes back to, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane. They didn't do a great job last season when the season started and Ja was suspended for those 25 games. The Grizzlies only won 6. I think they were 6-19 during that first 25. And I think that burned those guys because both Dez and Jaren were available to start last season, and they had to adjust. This season, they've adjusted. And when this team, they feel like they can endure whatever comes their way. And as long as Jaren and Dez are playing the way they're playing, they feel like they got a shot every night, no matter who else is available.
You mentioned Taylor going around and talking to every player that was available, among them John Conchar, Luke Kennard. I think since we were last in studio, those guys were pretty publicly placed into trade proposals between the Grizzlies and Brooklyn. Listen, I think everybody knows conversations are always ongoing. It's a business. Still, it's rarely that specific and that far down the line with a trade so publicly, and then it doesn't go through. How do you have a sense for whether the Grizzlies addressed that head on with Luke, with John? How did all of that go down from your perspective on the road with them?
Yeah, generally it does get addressed. And Taylor prides himself on communication. We just talked about, how he did it, at shoot around. He prides himself on being straight up with guys, for all the way down to the detail of how many minutes you're probably going to get or not going to get in a certain game. So this is part of the business. I mean, I think this was addressed with Luke coming into the season when he signed that 1-year contract. He knew that he couldn't be traded until a certain date. And if it did, if a trade did surface, that his name would probably be in it. Knowing Zach Kleiman and being around him the way that, I've had a chance to be around him since he was installed in his position, he's always been straight up with guys on that kind of stuff. As far as, Conchar knows that, there are guys all the way up to owner Robert Parra who really, really love what John Conchar is and what he represents and what he does. Whenever he's called upon, he's ready. He never complains. And when he gets his opportunity, he goes out and grabs 15 rebounds at 6'4", right? So, those guys know what the situation is. They know it's a business. And until that deal actually gets, consummated, or any deal, that they're going to give everything they have for the Grizzlies because it best suits them to do that, especially a guy in Luke Kennard's situation on an expiring contract.
Let's talk Ja Morant. Sidelined again, this time AC joint sprain, comes after Daniel Tice set a screen. Week to week is the evaluation. This is, it's happened multiple times this year where Ja has been taken out either while he's in the air and gets bumped, this time on the ground, gets hit. Does the NBA need to do something to protect what is undeniably one of their young stars? They love to send out the social media tweets talking about the impact that Ja Morant is making, yet too often he's sidelined because he's getting popped in ways maybe he shouldn't be getting popped.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, yes, those two hits, the two major injuries Ja has had this season have come on plays that were really, really close and borderline to being something that wasn't necessarily a clean defensive or basketball play. But both of them were heavily reviewed. Both of them were heavily reviewed, and it was determined that there was no, wrongdoing in terms of how those plays were. They were just awkward situations that Ja Morant either put himself in or ended up in, without any fault of his own. The lob that he caught, he took a bad angle going to the rim to try to make a play. And, whether he was bumped or slightly touched or whatever, it didn't take much to knock him off his path in that situation. That's unfortunate against, the LA Lakers. And then Daniel Tice is a physical player. He's been setting physical screens all of his career, and he set a clean screen. Ja didn't get the call out from his teammates to help him on that situation, and it just ended up being in a bad spot. So I don't think there's a malicious, hey, let's get out here and try to hurt Ja Morant, mindset in the league. I don't think that that's the case. But I do think it's one of those deals where this thing continues to happen. And it's all, if it keeps happening, it's more than a coincidence. I think Ja has to change some of his approach a little bit as he's tried to do. But I also think that, these are just some freak things that happen. And he gets caught up in some freak things trying to make some spectacular plays.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. The best way to avoid a hard screen is don't run directly into it. So, there's some responsibility to go around there. Do you have a sense for Ja's level of frustration? I often find myself projecting just because I think it's a natural thing to do. And then I remind myself not everybody feels the way I feel or has the same outlook I have. From my perspective, all that acknowledged, I would very easily fall into a why me, woe is me type of mindset. Is he handling this better than I would be handling it?
No, he's definitely saying, hey, something has to be done. Like he's saying, look, this can't keep happening. And he's tried. He said, this whole thing about I'm not going to dunk anymore. This is all, it's not about Ja not doing highlights. It's all about self-preservation and, him trying to help his body stay as healthy as possible. But the way he plays, he goes to the rim. And even when he had the back issue, he didn't dunk on anybody. That was just driving to the basket. It was just a tough drive. He is feeling like, look, he doesn't get the calls that a lot of other players of his magnitude tend to get. He does feel that way. And he's made that known. Taylor Jenkins has made that known. I think the Grizzlies have made that known to the NBA, that it's hard when you have a superstar like this who continues to try to play the right way, and he's getting handled in a way that's not conducive to sustainability when it comes to his health. So Ja is he does get frustrated. He's been borderline on the verge of being fined. He's had to pull himself back in post-game scrums when he's talking about, the physicality of the game. And he has to remind himself, look, I can pay the fine, but do I really want to go down this road and say what I really feel? He's done that at least 4 times this season. So I know it's something that's weighing on him for sure.
As John not feeling so well these days, Desmond Bane appears to be feeling better. I think most of us chalked up his shooting struggles, his unusual shooting struggles, to maybe he was healthy enough to play, but still not as healthy as he needed to be himself. He seems closer to himself lately. Is it as simple as he feels better than he felt, so he's playing better than he played?
And he's playing a little bit differently too. I think all of those things are true, Gary, that you just mentioned. You know, he was healthy enough to be back on the court, but not totally in rhythm and feeling like everything was clicking the way that Desmond Bane needs it to click physically. And it took a while. It took, you know, again, he was out for several weeks with the oblique, a couple weeks with the oblique strain, and then it took about a month for him to get his body and his everything right, you know what I mean, in terms of the way he plays. He's a downhill guy. He plays with a lot of torque and a lot of force. Even though he's playing a guard in a perimeter spot, he's always trying to initiate contact, physically getting to the rim. He's been finishing with and ones these last couple of games at a remarkable rate, you know, getting to the rim, taking the contact, and getting to the free throw line. But what he told me that was different about him, and we'll talk about this more on the pregame show on Thursday before the Sacramento game, is that, you know, he changed his game up in terms of how he's trying to approach it. He's pushing the ball. He's creating pace. He's giving himself a reason to get his body running as full as he can and as hard as he can. And, you know, when he's doing that, he becomes more of a playmaker. So he's working his way from the outside in to what he wants to do as a shooter. The rhythm is coming as a result of him putting his body in position to be in motion, setting up teammates. You look at, he's averaging better than 5 assists over this last stretch right here, and he's rebounding the basketball. So he's doing a lot of other things that opens the door for him to find that rhythm on the back end to his shooting. And, oh, by the way, yes, he is knocking down three-pointers again at a 41% clip over the last 6 games.
A few more things for you. You had a nice piece, grindcitymedia.com, addressing, sure, the injuries, but also the turnover issues that have plagued the Grizzlies. Haven't plagued them so badly to where, you know, the season's not going well. Second best record in the West despite all the injuries. But it's not just the raw turnover numbers, because I think it'd be easy to explain they're high because the Grizzlies are playing high possession games, playing faster than they've ever played. You know, more possessions, more turnovers. That's just a math thing. But the offensive turnover percentage is higher, you know, than it should be. And I think top 3, if I remember correctly from your piece, in the entire NBA. Is it a byproduct of, well, of course they're turning it over a lot, they're playing super fast, and they're never playing with the same group of people because of the injuries, or is it more than that?
It's more than that. It's more than that. And it's been discussed player to player, you know, coach to coach, assistant to assistant. It's been something that they know that they need to address. Some of it you just can't, like, you're right, Gary. Like, you got to chalk it up in 3 different buckets. One, they're playing at a faster pace. More possessions means more turnovers just because of raw numbers, right? So you got to understand that they're going to be more numbers just in raw total numbers because of the way that they're playing more possessions. The second thing is that they're playing without a steady point guard for a lot of stretches now, specifically with Ja out of the lineup. Scottie Pippen is the only, you know, sort of traditional point guard. And Scottie would tell you he was more of a 2 when he was at Vanderbilt. So he's kind of embracing this new point guard distributor role. So when you don't have that, now you're having guys like Dez and Luke and you know, Conchar and LaRavia and Santi when he's healthy. You're having all of these guys that aren't used to running a team have to handle the basketball. And that creates a lot of turnovers, particularly when you get the better teams that you're going up against. Oklahoma City recognizes that. Let's go full court pressure with the Grizzlies and make them work their way up the court, particularly when guys aren't comfortable necessarily handling the ball. So that's creating these, hey, I'm going to snatch the ball away from you turnovers before you even get into your offensive rhythm. So that's part of it as well, too. And then, as you said, the third bucket is the percentages. So that's leading to how many possessions you have versus how many % of those possessions are you turning the ball over. That is the concern. They're you know, one of the 3 worst teams in the league in terms of turnover percentage, and they need to cut that down because that's resulting in teams regularly getting 20-plus points per game off Grizzlies turnovers. Oklahoma City blasted them for 33. When you're going up against the toughest schedule the rest of the way now, there are going to be better teams that are more capable of turning those turnovers into points on the other end, and the Grizzlies can't afford to have that right now.
Last thing before I let you go, the Grizzlies will be in Sacramento tomorrow night. Mike Brown will not be there, and that's because he was fired 31 games into his 3rd season as coach of the Kings. I won't pretend that he was doing a great job this season because the record is the record, but this is a guy who is widely regarded as a gifted basketball coach, an accomplished basketball coach, a very good basketball coach. And they got him one day, coincidence or not, after he more or less very publicly criticized their franchise point guard, De'Aaron Fox. What do you make of everything that's happening in Sacramento right now?
Yeah, it's been a mess, man. And coaches have come out, but you normally don't see coaches, the coaching fraternity, come out and just blast another organization like that, because it's such a small fraternity. You never know if any of your assistants have an opportunity to get a job in Sacramento, or anybody that you're grooming, or maybe you at a certain point would need to get over there and at least interview. So to publicly come out and be as vocal, JB Bickerstaff was like that. Obviously Mike Malone had his words to say. Steve Kerr obviously was great friends, or is great friends with Mike Brown. It's tough, because 2 years ago, this guy was coach of the year in the NBA. Last year, this past summer in June, he got a 3-year contract extension with a lot of money on that contract extension. And then 30 games into this season, he's out of a job. That tells you what the coaching carousel is like in the NBA these days, with so much money and so much pressure involved from the day to day. But when you look at what he had to work with, that wasn't the kind of team that he needed to be successful with. De'Aaron Fox is almost like, look, let me get out of here. I'm gonna go ahead and do what I need to do, get to free agency, and see if I can end up somewhere else. I'm not saying that's impacting his play, because last night he had a remarkable finish against the Sixers, 15-0 run to win that game, and now they get to wait for the Grizzlies coming off of a nice victory. But he also is not committed to the organization either. So when you have that from your franchise point guard, that puts him in a position where anything said about him is going to be held to a higher standard within the organization. So Mike Brown should have known that was going to be the case. Also, the problem is DeMar DeRozan does not fit with what they were trying to do. He's a slower down, let me slow this possession down, sort of ball stopping, offensive player. He's not an up and down guy. So that doesn't fit with Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and all those guys. So it's just a bad fit in Sacramento right now. Now they get a chance to try to turn things around and get a spark. Now that you made this coaching change, and we'll see. They're going to be desperate. The Grizzlies are playing 3 straight desperate teams right now. They took care of Phoenix. They got Sacramento that's desperate. And then after that, on the second night of a back-to-back, Golden State is just in all sorts of turmoil right now. So you want to take advantage of them if you can.
That is Mike Wallace, Grind City Media. Make sure you're reading him, grindcitymedia.com. Follow him on X at @MyMicCheck. Mike Wallace live from Phoenix, Arizona. I love that backdrop. It looks nice, man. I'm sitting here in freezing cold, gloomy and gray New York City. I like the cactuses. It looks like the Phoenician. Is that a Phoenician background?
It's exactly what it is, man.
I've sat on that balcony.
The mountain is literally right there beyond this greenery right behind me, man. So I'm going to try to get a nice little climb in before we get on the buses.
I've climbed that mountain. I've sat on that balcony. I'd recognize that balcony anywhere. Sometimes we plan trips just because that place is unbelievable. I go to Phoenix just to stay at the Phoenician. It's the best. It is.
Yes. And we've had an extended stay here too, man. So it's been wonderful coming out of the new year, going into the 2025, man. So let's just keep this momentum going for sure.
All right. Go get you a hike in, and we'll catch up with you after Grizz Kings in Sacramento. Appreciate you, brother. Travel safely.
All right. Take care. You too, man. Safe travels.
All right. That's Mike Wallace, Grind City Media on X at @MyMicCheck, @MyMicCheck. We come back, turn our attention college basketball. Penny Hardaway's Tigers, fresh off of blowing out Ole Miss inside FedEx Forum, return to the court tonight. Conference opener, AAC at FAU. Little bitty favorite for the Tigers, despite all the momentum they carry into the game with a national ranking. We'll talk Memphis basketball next. Gary Parrish Show presented by Ortho South.
I want to throw a party just so I can be in control of the aux cord, just so I can force everybody to listen to the Wicked soundtrack. Both of these actresses in Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, I thought it showed how they have experience performing live and on screen, both of them.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Grizz Nation, it's time to send Ja, Jaren, and Des to the 2025 All-Star Game.
Oh! What did we just see, partner?
Take three! Take three!
Bane for 3.
Bingo!
Desmond, Bane heating it up.
Blocked by Jaren!
Most versatile power forward in the game today.
Head to NBA.com/vote, the NBA app, or simply use the QR code on the screen to send your Grizzlies to the All-Star Game today.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger buzzer beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Ring in the new year at Southland Casino Hotel to win your share of over $100,000 in free play, cash, or a 2025 Lexus. On New Year's Eve, we're turning up the energy with incredible entertainment. Dance the night away to the beats of DJ Epic, Jerome Chisholm and the M-Town Band, and an electrifying performance from Troy Laz. There's only one place to win when the clock strikes midnight, Southland Casino Hotel.
Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
Orthopedic injuries can be unpredictable, unforeseen, and unscheduled, and Ortho South understands this better than anyone. Since your injuries don't make appointments, you don't need to either. And that's because Ortho South welcomes walk-ins during the weekdays and the evenings, and even on Saturdays. So next time an unforeseen injury makes an unscheduled appearance in your life, visit orthosouth.org. And they'll take care of everything, especially you. Learn more at orthosouth.org. That's OrthoSouth at orthosouth.org. Now I got 5 more things you need to know.
Number 1.
Penny Hardaway's Tigers are returning to the court tonight. They're down at Florida Atlantic for the AAC opener. This coming after Big Ben Bennett. They blew out the Ole Miss Rebels inside FedEx Forum. I know you've been bouncing around Florida enjoying your vacation, but were you able to enjoy the Tigers' triumph over Ole Miss that launched them back into the Associated Press Top 25 poll?
I was able to enjoy, yes. We did get back in time to be able to check out that game on Saturday, and that was awesome, man. Like I think that we agreed after they had gotten the nice wins over Clemson and Virginia that let's go 3-1 in this 4-game stretch, and then you have the let down against Mississippi State, but I think all good. I think coming out of that stretch 3-1 is really good heading into conference play. And I'm way more fired up for tonight than I thought I would be.
You're not nervous, are you?
I mean, they're 2.5-point favorites. Like it is. Again, I think best I can tell, FAU sucks. The best I can tell, FAU sucks. But I mean, 2.5's 2.5. Like
what does Penny Hardaway have to do to get you to believe in him?
I believe. No. You're not going to do that. I believe. No, I think I've been the one sitting here telling you, I think this whole fluctuation with the top 25, I don't like it. I think either the voters need to acknowledge that Memphis is a good team or like maybe they don't think so highly of them. But I don't like this whole in the poll one day, out of it the next day. I don't like all that.
As somebody who does this every single day.
I'm calling you to the table too.
Okay, well, let me explain to you the best way to avoid that. You know how Mike Wallace just tried to tell us the best way not to get your AC joint sprained is to just avoid running into hard screens, maybe take some responsibility? Remember how Mike Wallace just said that?
I do.
I would say the same thing here. You know the best way to make sure you don't fall out of the AP poll after you get in it? Don't lose at home to Arkansas State by 13 points. Don't make it where you're the only ranked team in the entire country to take a quadrant 3 loss. That'd be one way. And then, hey, congratulations. You go beat Clemson. You go beat Virginia. You launch back into the AP poll. But then, don't get blown out at home by Mississippi State because that'll hurt you. That's damaging.
It's a good Mississippi State team.
It is a good Mississippi State team. But it did damage your resume to get whipped around like that inside your home building. But then you bounce back, blow out an Ole Miss team that had only lost one time previously. So now you're back into the AP poll. I actually think Every time Memphis entered the AP poll was exactly when Memphis should have entered it. And every time Memphis dropped out of the AP poll was exactly when Memphis should have dropped out of it. And every time Memphis got back in it was exactly when Memphis should have got back in it.
And I know we're joking around, but like now you can hang on to it, right? I mean, you're going to be favored in every single game going forward, right? They're going to be favored in every game, right?
Yes, you should. Yeah. I mean, barring injuries, like Tyrese Hunter, PJ Haggerty get hurt. Yeah. That can impact what a point spread is going to look like. But based on current projections, this is just a factual way to put it. Based on current projections, Memphis is expected to be favored in every game going forward. That's the good news. Of course, the counterpoint would be, they were favored in most of the games going forward last season, too.
That's right. That's right.
It flipped around. I don't know this for sure, but I bet you we could go back to the day where Memphis moved to number 10 in the AP poll. It was one day last January. And we might not have said Memphis is going to be favored in every game going forward because they would have had a game at FAU that might not have allowed for that. But it would have been something similar. Like Memphis is going to be favored in almost every game going forward. And then they just lost, and they lost, and they lost, and they lost, and they missed the NCAA tournament. Here's what I hope is true this season. I hope Memphis is better this season than it was last season, better in general and better equipped to handle what it's about to experience. And I believe that it is. I hope that the league is not as good as it was last season, and there's a whole bunch of data to suggest that it's not. I don't think this is going to go the wrong way, but I can understand, PTSD stuff among Memphis fans.
Sure.
Being like, we've been here before. It was roughly a year ago. We were feeling really good, and then we just started feeling really bad and never got away from that bad feeling. I'm not predicting that. In fact, I'm predicting the opposite. I don't know if they'll stay ranked all year long without exception, but I don't think they're going to fall apart against the schedule. I think they'll do enough against the schedule to enter the AAC tournament, and we will not be having this conversation. We will not be going, Memphis needs to win 3 straight and get the automatic bid to make the NCAA tournament. I think Memphis will be playing for seed when it gets to its conference tournament, having done enough to secure an at-large bid if they need it. And some of that, in fact, most of that is going to be tied to what they've already done. And that's win 8 games inside of the first 2 quadrants. Like, it's January 2nd, 2025. And Memphis will not hold this label much longer, and certainly not through the end of the season, because eventually an SEC team will hold it or a Big 12 team will hold it, because almost all of their games are going to be inside of the first 2 quadrants. And going forward, almost none of Memphis's games are going to be inside the first 2 quadrants. So what I'm about to tell you is true now. It won't be true much longer. Even if Memphis wins every game going forward, it won't be true much longer. But Memphis right now has 8 wins inside the first 2 quadrants, and that is 2 more than anybody else in the country. It's 2 more than Auburn. It's 2 more than Oregon. It's 2 more than Utah State. It's 3 more than Marquette. 3 more than UConn. Memphis has more good wins, not the best wins, not the 2 best wins, but I think you can reasonably say Memphis has more good wins right now than anybody else in the country. Memphis also has more quadrant 3 losses than anybody else in the country, at least anybody else ranked in the AP poll. But they have enough wins at this point to offset that, and that's why I have them ranked in the top 25 and 1, and they have returned to the AP poll. What's most interesting about this, and I tweeted it earlier in the week, but we haven't been back in studio to talk about it. If you just go by point spreads heading into games, like at tip-off, who is favored, who's not, who's supposed to win this game, who isn't. Did you see this tweet? If so, you'll know the answer. If not, it might surprise you. How many games so far? Memphis has played 13. How many times do you think Memphis was favored at tip-off?
Last season, you're saying?
No. This season.
Oh, so this season, how many games were they favored at tip-off? And how many games have they played so far?
13.
I'll say that they were favored in 10.
Favored in 6.
Oh, wow. That is surprising.
They've been underdogs in 7 games. If they did nothing more than do exactly what the betting market suggested they should do, once this ball is thrown up in the air, they should be 6-7 right now. And that's wild to think about. Mm-hmm. Penny has spoken about this publicly. He created the schedule without even knowing really who was going to be on his team. They brought back 1 player on scholarship. And to build a top 5 non-league schedule when last season's team wasn't good and you don't know what this season's team's going to look like, I mean, quite literally, you don't even know who's on it. And you might be coaching for your career. Like if Memphis were 6-7 right now as opposed to 10-3, we'd be having some really uncomfortable conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be asking me, you'd be like, GP, you think Memphis would hire Will Wade? That's the type of stuff you would be asking me right now if Memphis was 6-7. And Memphis should be 6-7 based on point spreads at this point in the season. So it takes a lot of you-know-what to put yourself in this position where very reasonably Penny Hardaway could have entered 2025 with his job in real doubt. As it is, because he challenged his players and they responded impressively, he enters 2025 10-3, ranked in the AP poll, and I think with as much confidence from the fan base that he's had in recent years. I know confidence was at an all-time high at the very beginning because there's no track record. It's just like all whatever you can imagine. So you just imagine the best stuff and then you believe in it, right? Well, after a while, it became a little tougher to do that, and people stopped, not across the board, but largely stopped believing and became skeptical. And there were a lot of reasons for people to do that. Even Penny has acknowledged that, which I think is a huge step in the right direction. He has multiple times this season, as recently as earlier this week, mentioned that the criticism directed at him in previous years, in this past offseason, he called it warranted. That's not my word, that's his. He called it warranted. I appreciated him saying that. He has admitted that he didn't have a great grasp for the job when he took it, that it's been harder than he realized. But he seems comfortable right now. He seems different right now. He's saying all the right things and, on the sidelines doing most of the right things. Again, they're 10-3 despite being underdogs in 7 of their 13 games so far this season. So if you're a Memphis fan, I understand being a little hesitant to get excited because it can turn badly quickly. But I don't think this one's going to turn badly quickly. I think they're going to go to FAU tonight. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to cover that number. And I think they're going to maybe not run away with their lead, but they'll win it by multiple games. And if they win it by multiple games, that's going to be good enough.
I totally agree with that. And, there's no way to prove this or anything like that. I do think that this team just – from what I've seen so far, I do think that they're built to withstand adversity probably better than that team last year. Again, they had a bad loss to Mississippi State at home, or they got blown out by Mississippi State at home, turn around and get a good win over Ole Miss. Like they appear to be able to bounce back. Last year, it's so weird looking at how that played out last year when conference play started, because they won 4 in a row to start conference play, and then they lost 4 in a row right after that, and this season was completely derailed at that point. Like, you lose 4 games in a row in the AAC, you are cooked, right? I just do not see that happening this year. I mean, things would really have to change with this team for them to lose 4 in a row in this conference.
Yeah, the next 2 are both quadrant 2 opportunities. So, you could add a 9th win inside the first 2 quadrants tonight, then a 10th on Sunday, and then after that is where it starts to just fall into a situation where it is almost exclusively quad 3, quad 4 stuff. That's where the landmines really start to show up, and you've got to be able to avoid them. But this team, how about this? Everything we've seen through 13 games, or at least most stuff we've seen through 13 games, suggests this team's built differently.
Yeah.
I think this team's built differently. I think it's going to be a fun rest of the season for Memphis fans starting tonight.
Number 2.
College football playoff quarterfinals, 3 of the 4. Are in the books. Penn State over Boise State, 31-14. That was your New Year's Eve game. Then on Wednesday, we were supposed to have 3 games. We only had 2. Get to that in a minute. Ohio State blasted Oregon, 41-21. And in what most people are calling the college football game of the year, in the first one that really made this 12-team college football playoff feel like March Madness, Texas 39, Arizona State 31. Double overtime in a quarterfinal yesterday. It had the Cinderella feeling to it. It had March Madness vibes to it. And Dan Wolken wrote about this at usatoday.com, really seemed to be the first signature moment of this 12-team college football playoff. Everybody's been complaining about it, like since we even selected the teams. But yesterday afternoon, as that one was unfolding, and I don't know how much of it you got to see, but as that one was unfolding, it felt like this is what it feels like when we're all watching March Madness and really enjoying it. It, for the first time, perhaps ever, the college football playoff felt that way.
Yeah, and I think that I do think that they will tinker with the format possibly going forward. That game was great. We've had some really boring games. But overall, just the feel of it, I think it's all positive. It's fun. Going into yesterday, it was like, okay, I'm going to settle in and watch all this stuff back to back to back. And that game was really good. I think it's all good as far as they should feel good about where this thing is.
Yeah, and I thought yesterday was a good day for the playoff, all things considered, because it blew up some narratives. It's like the SEC is this amazing thing, and really, should Arizona State be the 4 seed or even in the bracket? And I guess you could argue that maybe the answer to that would be no and no, but they showed themselves. They competed. They were in overtime against what some people would call, if not most people would call, the second best team from the SEC. They were in overtime, had a chance to win the game. So that blows up that narrative. And then honestly, I think Ohio State blowing out Oregon, blows out just blows a narrative out of the water. Mm-hmm. People are looking at teams like SMU or Boise State and saying, see, they don't belong because look what just happened to them. Well, nobody could reasonably say Oregon didn't belong. They won the Big Ten. They were undefeated. Well, look what happened to them. Here's the thing in sports. Sometimes you just get blown out in any sport. It could be a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game. It could be a tennis match, I guess. It could be anything. Sometimes blowouts just happen. And reaching grand conclusions about who should and should not be in a bracket based on what happens after the bracket is set, I talk about this every March, doesn't make much sense to me. Let's figure out a criteria. Let's all agree on it. Then let's select the teams, and then let's let it play out the way it plays out. And if we'll just shut up and stop bitching, we actually got an enjoyable thing. That was an enjoyable day of football yesterday. You get a all-time classic between Texas, Arizona State, and then you get Ohio State, which I know that's the most expensive roster in college football and one of the biggest brands in college football. But that's still kind of a neat story. This guy is maybe coaching for his job. He really could be fired or win the national championship. Either one of those things remains on the table, although I think the firing thing probably off the table now.
Especially after yesterday.
I think so. But how about this?
You just blasted a really good team.
How about this? Heading into the college football playoff, let's, for the sake of this conversation, assume Ryan Day's safe no matter what happens. Mm-hmm. Heading into the college football playoff, there was a scenario where you lose at home to Tennessee, you're done, buddy. Mm-hmm. Or you have a team good enough to win the national championship. Both those things were on the table.
Yeah.
That's a wild situation to be in.
Did you see what Dan Lanning said in his postgame afterwards? Mm. He goes, because obviously they're asking him about the loss, and he's like, hey, listen, we just had a really bad day today, kind of like Ohio State had a bad day against Michigan. I'm like, dude, you can't say that. Come on, man. You just got destroyed. Why are you taking shots at them?
It sounded a little softy. I think the point he was trying to make is this ain't us.
Which is probably not.
That wasn't them against Michigan. This ain't us against them. Mm-hmm. He's really making the same point I'm making, which is sometimes in sports things just can get away from you, and this is one of those where this one got away from us. Yeah. Although other people would argue the fact that Ohio State entered with 2 losses, entered as the second best team in your league, but still was favored over you at kickoff, suggests that they were always better than you. They just laid an egg against their rival, lost to you in Eugene, but they were always actually better than you, certainly more talented. Either way, who cares? If I were Dan Lanning, the thing I'd be complaining about isn't that we didn't show up as much as we shouldn't even been in this game. We shouldn't be in this game. We shouldn't be playing Ohio State in our first playoff game. And so there's some real things that I do think they need to address, because though yesterday I can argue on one hand was a good day for the college football playoff, it doesn't mean on the other hand that there aren't things that need to be fixed and addressed.
Yeah.
And I do think there's 2 obvious ones, maybe 3.
but at least two obvious ones. The main one is the seeding. And this is the one I'd be making the point if I were Dan Lanning. The way they seed this thing is just incorrect. I understand why they did it, but they had a real blind spot for what was going to happen. And now it doesn't even matter if you had a blind spot. It's in front of your eyes. You've watched it unfold. You know what happened. And this played out terribly because the whole bracket was misseeded. One of the requirements is to be a top 4 seed to get a bye in the college football playoff. You've got to win your conference. So Notre Dame can never be a top 4 seed because it's not in a conference. And the two best teams in the country can't possibly be the top 2 seeds in the country if they both happen to come from the same conference. So that's how you end up with Oregon as the 1 seed as a Big Ten conference champion, Georgia as a 2 seed as a SEC conference champion. Nobody really disagrees with that. But should Boise State ever have been the 3 seed? Not according to your rankings. And should have Arizona State ever been the 4 seed? Not according to your rankings. But because Boise State was a conference champion and Arizona State was a conference champion, they get thrown into those first-round byes and a top 4 seed, at which point you're pushing Ohio States and the Tennessees and the Penn States down the bracket, at which point Oregon actually has a tougher path to the college football playoff semifinals than Penn State. Think about how stupid this is. Mm-hmm. Oregon won the Big Ten. Penn State did not. Oregon's the 1 seed. Penn State's the 6. But Oregon had to play Ohio State in its first game. Arguably the best team in the country, the team that has the highest payroll in the country, the team that is now projected to win the college football playoff. That was Oregon's first matchup in the college football playoff. Penn State got to beat SMU and then Boise State. The number 1 seed had to play Ohio State, and the number 6 seed got to play Boise State and SMU. That's a fundamental flaw in your seeding. That needs to be fixed, and that should be done with the snap of a fingers. Like, that should be done like before the month is even up.
Right.
Yeah, that's just – think about it in basketball. There's a reason we don't do this in basketball. Right now, according to most computers, number 1 is Auburn and number 2 is Tennessee. If this were the college football playoff, what the committee would tell us is that Auburn and Tennessee can't both be 1 seeds because only one of them can be a conference champion. So you might have a conference champion ranked 15th in the country. If you did the NCAA tournament the same way they do the college football playoff bracket, you could have a team ranked 15th in the country, but they're one of the 4 highest ranked conference champions, and they'd be a 1 seed, and Tennessee would have to be a 2 seed. It doesn't make any sense. There's a reason we don't do it this way. And the reason is because it's nonsensical. That's one they've got to fix, and I hope that they fix it pretty soon. And by pretty soon, I mean as long as before we do the bracket next season. The second thing, get the quarterfinals out of the bowl games. You just there's no reason for them to be in the bowl games other than you're taking care of people you've always been taking care of, but you don't need to do that anymore. Things change. You know, you get to a point where Beyonce doesn't need Destiny's Child anymore. Justin Timberlake doesn't need NSYNC anymore. And we're at the point where college football doesn't need these bowl games anymore. Like, you had empty seats in college football quarterfinals yesterday, largely because I'm not certain fans in great numbers can travel this often every week after week.
I think that's a great point. Yeah.
So bring them back onto campuses for the quarterfinals at the very least. I would argue the semifinals as well. And I know some people push back on that. Like, well, you really want somebody having to go to, Ohio State and win or Georgia to win to make it to the national championship? Yeah, I don't care. Like, we're going to make somebody go to Kansas City and win, probably, to make the Super Bowl. Like, we don't say we're going to put the AFC Championship game on a neutral field so it'll be more fair. We say the Chiefs earned that with how they performed over the regular season. So if you want to eliminate them, you're going to have to do it inside Arrowhead. Why not just and guess what? It seems to work. Mm-hmm. Ain't nothing bigger than the NFL playoffs. So why not do the same thing with college football? You create more of advantage for the better teams. So you reward the regular season performance, and you create better environments. You don't lose everything that's great about college football by taking these games to the bowl games, but you do lose something. The Rose Bowl looks amazing on TV. But that is not like being on campus at Georgia or being on campus at Texas or being on campus at Clemson. And by the way, I'd be tired of the Rose Bowl dictating anything that I do. Did you realize that they kicked that game off, Oregon, Ohio State yesterday, while Texas, Arizona State was still going?
I didn't understand that.
It's because the Rose Bowl said, no, we have here's the way it works.
Hard start, yeah.
Because they want to time it to where the sun sets at the start of the fourth quarter. And it's beautiful. I get it. But, like, get over yourself.
No.
Like, let me tell you how television works. We're sitting in studio yesterday. We've got a doubleheader, CBS Sports Network. Our UConn-DePaul game is supposed to tip off at, like, 2:05, 2:06. Well, they slide that tip to 2:12 because our first game's running long. And they don't want people to miss part of the next game. So you just slide the tip. You hear it every night you're in studio. They're sliding the tip 11 minutes. They're sliding the tip to 10:14, whatever. This happened every day in television with sports, every day. And it should have happened yesterday, but the Rose Bowl says, no, we kick off when we kick off. Nothing else matters. So imagine you're ESPN. You're paying billions of dollars for the college football playoff, and you can't even put the beginning of Ohio State, Oregon on your main channel because your previous game's in double overtime and the Rose Bowl won't budge. Buddy, we're done with you.
Yeah.
I would just – and this one's a little more complicated than just changing the seating because you got contracts and stuff. But here, you put me in charge of college football. Here's what I'm saying now. We're not signing any more contracts. We'll honor the contracts that we have with the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, everybody else. We ain't signing no more. All right? Our college football playoff first-round games will be on campuses. Quarterfinals will be on campuses. Semifinals will be on campuses. And the championship game, we'll rotate it every year just like we do the Super Bowl. And Pasadena, hey, Rose Bowl people, we ain't worried about you no more. But Pasadena, if you would like for us to conduct the national championship game in your stadium, then you can call us. We're not dealing with the bowl people anymore. You can call us. You own that stadium. They run the game. You own the stadium. You can call us, and you can put in a bid same way Indianapolis will, New Orleans will. The new dome that they're going to have in Nashville, they're going to bid on it. And that's the way we're going to do the college football playoff going forward. Everybody makes more money, and we're not beholden to people we don't need to beholden to. That's the next fix. Change the seating, and then get the bowl games out of the equation. And then the other thing that I think does probably need to be looked at, there was a trend, and you can't really say if it's small sample size or if it's meaningful, but other people have noted it. The teams that had buys, so the higher seeded teams, weren't sharp early, if at all, in these games. And there's some thought that maybe the layoff that the other teams didn't experience, on one hand, it's supposed to be an advantage to get a first-round bye and have some time off. But is it actually an advantage if you're rusty or, whatever? And I don't know that there's any way to prove that. It's like if you come out and play well after a long rest, people say, well, they're rested. Of course they played well. And if you come out and play poorly after a long rest, people come out and say, well, they're rusty. That's why they didn't play well. I don't know that you can ever accurately assign it one way or another, but it is a topic of conversation that perhaps needs to be looked at. And if, you're going to try to resolve that situation, the best way is just to take it from 12 to 16, and then there's no more first-round buys. We're just playing games on campuses, trying to cut it down to 8. So first 3 college football quarterfinals in the books. They weren't all great games, but they were interesting in their own rights. And now we get one more college football quarterfinal tonight. Let's talk about that one now.
Number 3.
So we were supposed to have all of our college football playoff semifinals set already, but we weren't able to play the one game that we got to play this afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central, Notre Dame, Georgia, in the Caesar Superdome down in New Orleans. And the reason we can't play it last night is because there was what appears to be a terrorist attack of some sort in New Orleans. A maniac drove a truck down Bourbon Street, mowing down people. As of late last night, the official toll was 15, at least 15 deceased people, dozens more hurt. What an awful scene that was. These are the ones that always get me. Like, we've all been on that street. We've all been on that street at that time. That wasn't us, thank God. But I was talking about this with Adam Zucker yesterday in studio. Like, just play out an alternative universe. Like, I don't have this job, and Memphis doesn't lose to Navy, and the Tigers are in the college football playoff, and they happen to be playing Georgia in the, down in New Orleans. And I got 3 buddies sitting around going, hey, man, we should go. When's the next time Tigers ever going to be in a college football play? And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm off work. Let's go. Like, that could have been us. I mean, it wasn't, and but it could have been anybody. And obviously now the criticism comes. Why wasn't the area more protected? Because they do have, like, there are a handful of places that are just busy on New Year's Eve. Bourbon Street would obviously be one. Obviously, I'm in the middle of it in, Midtown Manhattan, Times Square, New York City. Well, I came here on New Year's Eve. I landed mid-afternoon and checked in, took a nap. And we got up, and I was like, I'm just going to go for a walk and, get dinner. And New York City's weird on New Year's Eve because, like, I had a couple people like, did you walk down to Times Square? Well, you can't really do that on New Year's Eve. Like, I could do that right now. I could just walk right into Times Square. But on New Year's Eve, it's blocked off. You can't. Broadway is blocked off, and everything between, say, 8th Ave and 7th Ave is blocked off. So, like, I have to get special permission even to get back to my hotel on New Year's Eve. But one of the things you'll notice, this is my point, is if you're walking around, say, 8th Avenue or 7th Avenue, so just to the east or west of what people associate with Times Square, it's not only like they have barriers up. You know what you will see on, like, every street? Like, my street is 54th Street. And when I was walking from 8th Ave to 54th Street, do you know what I have to walk around? Police cars, police men and women, barriers. But you know what else? Garbage trucks. They have garbage trucks sitting
blocking stuff off
in the middle of the street, like on 54th Avenue or 54th Street. There's a garbage truck sitting sideways in the street. And that is very specific. If anybody tries anything crazy, they're going to have to run through a garbage truck. I even saw a guy on television talking about this last night. He's like, there's a reason they use garbage trucks as opposed to police cars, because police cars can be pushed aside by garbage trucks. And so the reason we use garbage trucks is because they're the things that are harder to push. So even in New Orleans, if you do have police cars, that's not enough. And the guy was like, the amount of money they're going to have to pay in lawsuits for not better securing this place, they could have bought a fleet of garbage trucks and had the whole place protected. Plus, they have these hydraulic things that block the streets in New Orleans that they weren't actually using either. So it's just, you get the situation in New Orleans, and I mean, a week after somebody burned somebody to death on the subway here in New York, we got another one. Somebody just pushed somebody onto the tracks.
Saw that. Oh man, the headlines yesterday were it was tough to look at social media, man.
There's the thing that happened in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
A Cybertruck blowing up in front of a Trump hotel.
I know.
Woo!
Yeah, a lot happened. Yeah, a lot happened.
Happy New Year. So originally they moved the game back to tonight. They just sort of pushed it back 24 hours. Georgia and Notre Dame both argued, hey, we'd rather play it earlier the better, just in terms of rest and recovery, getting home. In theory, we hope we got another game to play. So the game will now kick off later this afternoon as opposed to tonight, and you just hope that it goes off without any sort of issues. New Orleans is, I think I speak for most people from the Memphis area. Like, New Orleans is a special place for us.
It is.
It's a river city, just like we're a river city. It's a impoverished city in a lot of the ways that we're an impoverished city. We can see ourselves, the incredible culture, music scene, history. One of the more famous streets in America. Like, we share a lot of stuff with New Orleans, and I think folks from New Orleans appreciate Memphis, and people from Memphis appreciate New Orleans. Maybe they don't love the Grizzlies down there the same way we don't love the Pelicans up here, but I think there's a respect and appreciation, like two cities that have really endured hard times in different ways. And for New Orleans to be experiencing another one, I mean, this is a city that still never recovered from Katrina. And for it to be experiencing another just tragic event is just heartbreaking. So understandably, they postponed the game. Understandably, they're going to try to do it today. And hopefully there are no issues. And this really was an isolated event that happened and not the first of a series of things, but just the first and last thing and latest awful thing that we have to experience in this country. But you're right. The headlines yesterday, man, you look around and every time you see somebody, you want to say Happy New Year. And then you look at your phone and you're like, shit, is it?
I know.
Happy New Year, but my God, you see what happened in New Orleans? Happy New Year, but you see what happened in Vegas? Happy New Year. I hope somebody doesn't push you on the train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Rough out there, Bennett.
Yeah, for sure.
Do the best. Just do the best you can.
Number 4.
Hey, the Titans, it's a big weekend for you, Bennett. Depending on what happens.
It's a huge weekend.
Depending on what happens with you and other teams across the NFL, you could wake up on Monday morning as a fan of the team picking first in the 2025 NFL Draft, or a fan of the team picking 7th in the 2025 NFL Draft. And though I think I know what most Titans fans would prefer, Jeffrey Simmons went on record and he said, buddy, I ain't tanking nothing. I ain't got no respect for no GM or no coach to tell me not to win. I'm going out there to win, and if they try to tell me otherwise or sit me down or tank me, I'll tell them this ain't a franchise I don't want to be a part of. What do you make of this?
Well, and respect to Big Jeff, he's one of the stars of the team. If I was the Titans, I'd probably say, hey, man, we appreciate everything you've done for us. It's been a tough season. We want to have you a part of this thing when we are back and better than ever next season. And we're going to give you the day off. We're going to give you the day off this Sunday and just let you sit back and enjoy your money, and we'll run it back next year. That's what we'll do. Because we got to get that pick. I have not been more invested in the Titans game since week 1, bro. Like, this is the moment. It is right there for the taking. And they've already come out and said that they're going to play Mason Rudolph and Will Levis both in this game, which is a clear sign that they're trying to lose the game. Like, that is the classic, if this dude's playing too well, we're going to throw the other guy in real quick. Like, that's what they're doing here. They want to lose this game. So the organization's doing the right thing. And again, you can't tell your players to tank, but like, you can help. You can do other things to ensure that you lose this game. Again, I get it. Like, players don't want to tank. Whatever, it's fine. But the Titans have to lose this game. They have to.
You don't ask players not to play hard. You just don't put players in who, if they play hard, will lead to you winning the game. The biggest misconception for some among tanking is that teams ask players to lose.
No.
Like, even when the Grizzlies are tanking, they're not asking Jaren Jackson Jr. out there to go out and miss 12 shots.
Right.
They're just putting a product on the floor that says, man, hey, guys, go try as hard as you can, but you probably ain't winning this because, like, you're not good enough. That's what tanking is. It's putting yourself in a position where, hey, I'm not telling you not to play hard. I'm just telling you, like, even if you play hard, you're not supposed to win, and we don't want you to win, and so everybody's getting out of this what they want out of it. And if you're the Titans, you can't win this game, period. Like,
you cannot win this game.
Like, if you're Jeffrey Simmons, you just say, hey, buddy, I appreciate your passion, but shut up. This ain't got nothing to do with you. You're not playing this weekend. And, just we're giving you the week off for reasons that will actually improve your workplace going forward. Hey, how you like being off the field? You like being off the field every once in a while? Well, what if we drafted a quarterback that could keep you off the field every once in a while, right? So appreciate your passion, but you're not playing. Nobody else with comparable talent as you is playing. We want to lose this game by 50 if we can. And if you got complaints about that, I'm sorry, but you're not a part of this conversation.
Right. And I'd been paying attention to it, obviously, in the scenarios that could play out, but it's never been more clear than it was in this final week, because the Patriots would have to beat the Bills and the Titans would have to lose to the Texans for the Titans to get the number 1 pick. Now, obviously, when you hear that, it's like, well, the Patriots ain't beating the Bills. Well, the Bills are resting everybody because they don't have anything to play for as they get ready for the postseason. And the Patriots, it's interesting because it appears they already have their quarterback in Drake May, and he's going to play in this game on Sunday. And so I could totally see a scenario where they go out and win that game. And they probably don't. they would want the number one pick as well, obviously. Every team wants the number one pick that's eligible to get it. But it would appear that the incentives the stakes ain't as high for the Patriots as it is for the Titans because they've got their guy, it appears, right?
If you pick 7th and you could have been picking first, you have failed miserably.
Dude.
You have failed miserably.
They will get crushed for an entire offseason. They've been getting crushed this whole season. They will get crushed for an entire offseason if they screw this up on Sunday. You have to lose. You have to.
I know you can't do this, or at least I think you can't do this, but this is how strongly I feel about this. I'm talking about if you're down 3 with the ball in the final 2 minutes and you're in field goal range,
punt.
I'm talking about punt the ball out of bounds.
Yes.
Kick a field goal backwards. I'm talking about take the ball and say, hey, guys, here, fumble, go get it if you want it. I'm talking about if that's what it takes to ensure you lose the game, that's what you have to do to ensure. If the options are we can kick this field goal and go to overtime, or give the ball to the other team.
Yep.
You have to give the ball to the other team.
And if the league doesn't like it, then implement a lottery system like the NBA does. But as long as you have a clear path to get the number one pick, you do that.
That's right. League, if you and keep in mind, we do this all the time. They talk about the integrity of stuff. Does anybody have a problem with the integrity of a game when a running back slides at the goal line to keep the clock running rather than score? You are messing with the integrity of a game when you do that.
That's a good point, yeah.
You're supposed to be scoring. You could walk right into the end zone, but they won't do it because it's in their best interest not to score in that moment. It's their best interest to get another snap as opposed to kick the ball off. This happens in football. I don't want to say all the time, but regularly. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's something that happens. And nobody says, oh, well, they're messing with the integrity of the game. I mean, I guess somebody does, but who cares? Because we all know what they're doing. They're doing what's best for them. What's best for them? Who cares about the integrity of the game? We're doing what's best for us, period.
Yeah.
So why would it be so crazy if you are faced with a situation of kick a field goal and win it, or don't and lose, to literally kick the ball out of bounds? If you can slide at the goal line and be that intentional about not scoring because it's in your best interest, why can't you kick a field goal into the stands and be that intentional about not scoring? What is the difference? There is no difference.
Right. No, it's very true.
Now, the NFL would come down hard on you for this, and they don't come down on you at all for the other one, but there's no difference between the two. They're just bigger stakes.
Yep.
One's just the final score of a game, and the other one actually dictates who's going to pick where in a draft, and by extension could dictate who's going to be in playoffs, in a different set of circumstances. But it's the same principle. You're doing what's best for you with little regard for the integrity of the big picture. I'm fine with it. If we're fine with running backs sliding at the goal line to get another snap, keep a clock running, we should be fine with teams doing anything that's in their best interest. I hope we actually get this scenario where the Titans are in a situation in the fourth quarter where they have to do something
I'm not
dramatic.
trying to sweat that.
No, I just want the story. I just want to talk about it on Monday. I want the Titans to find themselves in a position where they have to make a decision. And the decision they make, if they make a smart one, it'll run counter to what the NFL would like for them to do. I want to talk about that on Monday. So good luck.
All right.
Number 5.
LeBron James' youngest son, Bryce James, has committed to play basketball in the Big 12. He's going to be an Arizona Wildcat. And I hope to God we don't do this the way we did it with Bronny. Because I've had a few people ask me, so how good is Bryce? We know Bronny wasn't that good. How good is Bryce? The truth is probably not as good as Bronny. Do you know where Bryce James is ranked according to 24/7 Sports?
In
his senior class of 2025? 257th. 257th in the country. Like, Bronny was at least a top 100 prospect. I was sitting with a coach this summer at Peach Jam, where, by the way, Bryce James averaged 5.6 points, 2.8 rebounds. He was 3 of 17 from 3, 18%, in 22 minutes a game. Sat with a coach at Peach Jam, and he said, and Bryce was playing in front of us. And I don't say this to pile on. I know, he's probably an amazing young man, but he's not a basketball player that should be going to Arizona.
Yeah, I got you.
Arizona will not sign another player ranked 250 in the country. So if they've all got an understanding about what this is going to be, it's fine with me. Hey, if you just want, if it's as simple as LeBron James has an incredible amount of respect for Tommy Lloyd and just wants his son to be around Tommy Lloyd and that staff and at Arizona, still on that side of the country, so you can, so Bronny's traveling with the Lakers, Bryce is down in Phoenix, home base is Southern California. If everybody understands what this is, fine with me. But if we start this, it's 7 games in the next season, and we're asking why Bryce James isn't playing. They're on Get Up talking about Bryce James is averaging 2.2 points per game. Or even worse, somebody's asking, is Bryce James going to be one? Like, if we do this like we did the Bronny thing, it would be a massive mistake. Because I never believed Bronny was a real NBA player, but some people kind of did. I never saw it, but some people kind of did. Literally nobody sees it here. Nobody sees it here. I had a coach say to me at Peach Jam, he said, where do you think he ends up ranked in the, class of 2025? I said, probably not at all. Like, he's like, do you think anybody will put him in the top 100? I said, none, not unless they're doing it just for attention, just to do it so they can put Bryce James in a headline. But outside of that, no way. And then one recruiting service made him like number 100 just to get him on the list. But more accurately, he should be in the 250s. He's a mid-major player. He should be playing at East Carolina, not at Arizona. And so if you saw the big headline yesterday, and it was big everywhere.
Oh yeah,
breaking news on the ticker, the whole deal. LeBron James, youngest son, commits to Arizona. If he was not LeBron James' youngest son, Arizona wouldn't even be interested. If you're expecting him to play a big role as a freshman or ever, seems unlikely. These young people are put on an incredible stage because of who their father is, and I think their father has contributed to that by talking about them from a basketball perspective, the way he's talked about them. So when something like this goes down, you get a lot of like, how good is he? And the truth is, probably not good enough to be committing to a place like Arizona to play basketball. But all that said, I wish him all the best. Be back with GP's Carryout.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing compares to catching your Grizzlies IRL. And that all starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight. Put that jersey collection to use for the next game and get Grizzlies tickets at Ticketmaster. Whether they're here at FedEx Forum or on the road, Ticketmaster's got your back when it comes to scoring tickets. And there's no better brag than saying you saw it live. Grizzlies fans know it's the team that gives you the edge. Big River Steel does too. And much like the Grizzlies have recruited legendary talent, we want you to be part of our team. Are you ready to be part of something legendary? Then visit www.bigriversteel.com. That's www.bigriversteel.com.
Our fans have a huge impact on our ability to play to the level that we're striving for.
Drop off, Morant. Oh! Well, you wanted home crowd involvement.
I love those moments where you see our guys engaging in the fans, and the fans just get pumped up.
They are standing in FedEx Forum.
I would hate to be on the other side with the opposition when FedEx Forum's rolling. That's such an unbelievable relationship that our group has with our fans.
Anticipate each challenge. Make a quick response. Capitalize on every opportunity. And win. Greatness won't wait. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Parrish Show presented by Ortho South. I'm in New York City. Bennett Doyle back inside the Built Ford Tough studio. I left the window open. Now it seems like we got that.
I know.
sun
Yeah.
issue.
You got the little Spider-Man thing going on in the background. Yeah.
Man, you gotta talk to him. But hey, I mentioned you're inside the Built Ford Tough studio. That's because you're back from Florida. How was your vacation? It looked wonderful on Instagram.
It was so good. It was so good and refreshing.
Was it?
It was really nice. Yeah, man. We had a great time. It went by too fast. But the kids, oh, man. I mean, that's always cool. Like, surprise your kids, like, with a trip to Disney World, like, the day that you're going. That was a lot of fun. It was seeing their faces. That was cool.
Do you actually kept the secret? They did not know when you
No, they didn't know. No. I mean, the 2-year-old, he don't know nothing anyways. Or he's about to be 2. But yeah, Noah was fired up. Like, he was bouncing off the walls when we told him. We told him, like, right before we were about to go get on a plane.
Was that his first trip to Disney World?
No, we took him to we actually took him to California for our 10-year anniversary. We went out to California last year and went to Disneyland and did all that. And we took him. Yeah, no, we took him with us. Well, it was a 10-year anniversary. You gotta spend a little bit for that.
I know.
So yeah, my wallet's lighter, but we had a great time. So yeah.
And you stayed in remind me what resort you stayed in?
We stayed at the Walt Disney World Swan Hotel, which is a
that's the one.
Marriott property.
Did we ever determine which one I stayed in?
It had to be, because you're a Marriott guy, right?
I am.
Yeah, then it had to be that one. It's a Marriott hotel.
I remember it fondly. I remember enjoying.
It was nice. It was nice. We had a little balcony. It was good. Santa came through the balcony, dropped some presents off on Christmas Day. It was great. Yeah.
Of course. Does Santa travel with his presents to Florida, or does Santa get his presents once he's in Florida?
No, you tell him. You just give him some instructions. You send Santa a letter with instructions that you're not going to be at home, where to go, what to do.
Yeah, I know how Santa handles it. I'm just trying to figure out. Do you think Santa, if he had to get your boys presents, do you think he had to travel with them from Memphis down to Florida, or did he just, like, once he got to Florida, be like, all right, let me grab some presents now that I'm here, since we're in Florida? That's what I'm
talking about. He came through. He came through. He came through.
He usually does.
He came through. Yeah.
He usually does.
He always does.
Where were you on Christmas Day?
We were at Epcot on Christmas Day. It was so good. It was, by the way, like, a word of advice for people with kids that are in, like, elementary school, middle school, high school. If you're planning on, like, taking them to a Disney trip during your breaks, like spring break, Christmas break, whatever. If you go during Christmas break, go the week of Christmas. Don't go the week after Christmas, because that's when it's, like, slammed. The last day we were there, it was slammed, dude, and we were like, all right, it's about time to go. It was honestly borderline miserable, and I've seen, like, pictures from it this week. It looks miserable right now.
We did Christmas Day at the Magic Kingdom.
Oh yeah, I bet that was miserable.
You can't even overstate how miserable
you can't walk. You can't walk.
You cannot walk.
Yeah.
You cannot walk anywhere. You can't get anything to drink. You can't get anything to eat.
Mm-mm.
You cannot. I'm not exaggerating. Lou was so young, we still had a stroller, and so it would be like Lou in a stroller, and it's like you're like this the whole time moving. You can't move.
Yep. True
story. We got up, went to the Magic Kingdom. Saw the parade, took the pictures. We got the pictures so we can prove on Instagram we were spending Christmas at the Magic Kingdom, and that's really all you need to be able to do.
Yeah.
And I looked at my wife and I said, all right, let's cut the shit. We had good intentions, but let's cut the shit. Are you having a good time right now? Is this fun? She was like, no. I said, okay, good. It's not fun for me either. We looked at Aiden. I was like, is this fun for you? It was like, not fun for anybody. You couldn't do anything. And I said, what if we just would go get lunch anywhere you want to get lunch? You pick it, and then go back to the hotel, to the resort, hang out there. Rather than be at the Magic Kingdom, should we do this?
Aiden said, yeah, let's go to Golden Corral. We went to Golden Corral. Golden Corral. He wanted Golden Corral. We went to Golden Corral, got the buffet in Orlando, went back to the resort, and had a awesome Christmas Day. But Christmas Day up until leaving the Magic Kingdom was miserable. They shut the park down. It was one of the few times in the history of the park that they shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
It was too
capacity.
Big, too ridiculous. So I'm glad you didn't do that, because that's a mistake. You don't ever want to do that. Halloween, Magic Kingdom, that was fun. We did that. That was fun.
We done that. That was cool too. Yeah.
Christmas Magic Kingdom, you don't need to do that. So I'm glad you were at Epcot. Did you get drunk walking around the Epcot Center? That's what people like to do.
Yeah. Did I drink around the world? Yes. I did. Yeah. Yeah, I did. Okay. You know, I'm on vacation. All right. So
I don't really drink beer anymore, and I don't like drinking on demand. I don't like drinking games. I don't like gotta take a shot. I'm like, I'm nearly 50 years old. You're not going to tell me when I need to take a shot. All right. But there's something about being in Epcot where, like, I do kind of just want to drink.
Yeah, man.
And walk around the world.
Oh, it's so good. Relaxing. You think it's going to be intense, and then you get there and you're like, this is nice. It's nice. Yeah. The kids had a blast. The wife had a blast. We met our fam from Baltimore came down and met us there. It was all good. It was all good.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's good to have you back.
It's good to be back, man.
CJ and Devin were awesome in your absence, but it's good to have you back.
Good. Yeah. Shout out to them for holding it down. I really appreciate those guys doing that.
All right. Let's wrap this up with GP's Carryout.
It's time for GP's Carryout. One final segment filled with stuff to take with you. It's not everything you need to know, but it's most of it. What did we learn today?
Whole bunch of stuff, but we're mostly focused on your Memphis Grizzlies, who are alone in second in the Western Conference standing heading into tomorrow night's game in Sacramento. The big story while we were gone, Ja Morant injured again, right into a hard screen set by Daniel Tice. He's missed the past 2 games. It's an AC joint sprain, officially listed as week to week. But getting the win in Phoenix in Ja's absence, along with the absence of, it felt like just about everybody else.
Right.
Huge bounce back after what happened in Oklahoma City. We'll see what they can do tomorrow night in Sacramento. I'll be back in studio in Memphis. We'll get you ready for that one, 10 o'clock.
What's today's biggest game?
I guess let's go Sugar Bowl, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. They're going to do it on ESPN. It's Notre Dame and Georgia. Winner advancing to the college football playoff semifinals. Notre Dame is a 1-point favorite inside the Caesars Superdome down in New Orleans. The total's 45.5. How you going to act?
Man, this is tough. I think I don't like, I kind of get sick of the SEC bias too. Like I hear all that. It's hard for me not to pick Georgia here. It's hard for me to pick.
Backup quarterback.
Oh, that's right. Beck's not playing. Man, I don't think it matters.
You either have to pick a Georgia team with a backup quarterback or a Notre Dame team that lost to Northern Illinois. You got to pick one of those to go to the college football playoff semifinal.
It's hard for me to look past that Northern Illinois thing, dude. It just is. I know that was a long time ago. I know, but my goodness. I think I'm going to go Georgia. I don't even think the quarterback's going to really matter here. I think they're just going to smash them in the mouth.
Bennett says he's looking for a mouth smashing tonight.
Yeah.
Georgia plus the 1.
Yeah.
That's the play down in the Superdome.
What are we watching on TV?
Bennett, man, so much has changed since you left and came back.
What's going on?
I'm a movie watcher now.
Oh, I saw you went. Did you go to the movies on Christmas Day?
I did.
I saw that in my heart. I mean, I almost fell out when I saw that. I messaged you. I was so happy to see that you went to the movies on Christmas Day. How was it? How was the Bob Dylan movie?
I loved it.
Good.
It's not, there's, they take some liberties with the story.
Sure.
They take some liberties with the story, but I thought it was entertaining. I was never bored. I thought Timothée Chalamet was great.
Good.
I was never bored. I enjoyed it. Here's the truth. We went to see the movie. I won't bore you with that story, but we went to see the movie, and I just sort of liked being in the movies. Whole family went. It was good. And then I saw you know, because I put it in an Instagram story, and you took the time to tell me you were proud of me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And
I really was.
And that made me proud of me.
Yep.
You being proud of me made me proud of me. And so as I had to travel a little bit, and I've been a TV show guy. Like, I'm always trying to catch up on some TV show. And I said, you know what? In a spirit of trying to accomplish things and have a sense of accomplishment, what if I just started committing to movies instead of TV shows? Because I could knock out a movie quicker than I could knock out a season of a television show, and I would feel more accomplished. Plus, Bennett would be proud of me more.
Yep.
I've been watching movies, man. You don't even know. I went to see the new Bob Dylan movie. I have seen Gladiator 2 now. I saw Gladiator 2, Bennett.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it, though.
It wasn't as good as the first one.
I didn't think so, but I enjoyed it. You know,
I enjoyed it, too.
I enjoyed it. I watched, I've got one teed up for today on my flight home. I'm really excited.
What?
It's called Honora.
I gotta see Honora.
I'm watching it today. All right, I'm watching it today. I'm going to report back to you tomorrow. But now that I'm a movie watcher again, I just sit on the couch and I wait for my family to collapse around me.
Yeah.
They can't stay awake like I stay awake.
Right.
I mean, then I do fall asleep sometimes too. But like, I'm usually like looking up and I'm like, all right, everybody's out. It's just me now. Now it's just me. So I've been looking for movies rather than just scrolling Instagram and Twitter. I said, you know what, Bennett, I'm gonna make Bennett proud. I've been looking for movies, not just find movies. I just watch them now.
Yeah.
So I watched one the other night. Have you heard of? I'd never even heard of this, and it had good reviews, and it was under 2 hours and good reviews. Perfect. It was perfect. Juror Number 2. You familiar with Juror Number 2?
Yeah, it's the new Clint Eastwood movie.
By the way, how is he making new movies? He is 94 years old.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It might be his last movie. Yeah.
It's actually crazy that this guy's still making movies at 94. I thought he lost his mind.
I thought so. I thought so too. That's really impressive.
Wasn't he at the Republican National Convention losing his mind like 10 years ago or something?
That checks, yeah.
Okay. So he made this juror. So it was like Clint Eastwood, good reviews, under 2 hours, and everybody I know is asleep. Yep. All right, I'll give it a try. It's got 93% critic positive reviews at Rotten Tomatoes and 91% from viewers. So I was like, okay, above 90% in both, less than 2 hours, Clint Eastwood. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Interesting in this sense. Remember how I said earlier, I hope that the Titans find themselves in a situation on Sunday where they have to now make a decision. It's like, okay, now we're in this situation. What will we do? This movie puts you in a situation where it's like, oh, wow. Now, it's far-fetched, and like it'd have to be a perfect storm of some stuff to put you for you to find yourself in this situation. But it's not impossible. You know, like crazy things have happened. I don't want to ruin it. And I'm not like reading about it. There's some thought it could be nominated for big awards. Maybe not. We'll see. But I don't want to ruin it for you. But it puts this character in a situation where I think you can I think it's very natural. You start to wonder, oh man, this is wild. What would you do? What would you do in this situation? It just had me thinking. I've sitting up by myself on my couch. Whole family collapsed around me, and I was like, all right, this is interesting. This guy is in a really weird situation now. What do you do? What would you do? What should he do? I like things that make you think like that. I'm not trying to pretend it's going to win every award, but Jonathan Abrams wrote it. Clint Eastwood directed it. It's got
Nicholas
Hoult. Nicholas Hoult.
He's great. I too went to the movies recently when we got back. This, again, weirdo behavior, I acknowledge off the front end. Sunday night, I was having massive FOMO because I had not seen Nosferatu yet, which was the movie I was the most excited about coming out this year. And Malco was playing it once a day at 9:30 p.m. on the IMAX screen, and I was like, dude, I have to go see that. And so my wife rolled her eyes and was like, fine, we'll be asleep, whatever. And I went and saw Nosferatu at 9:30 on Sunday night, and it was so good. It was so good.
Okay, well, he's in this. He's the star. He's the lead character. Toni Collette's in it. J.K. Simmons is in it. Kiefer Sutherland is in it.
Okay, you had a good cast.
I just like it. It's quick. It moves pretty fast, and it creates the situation where I think it's easy to go. Like if you were sitting around with a group of people watching this movie, I think it'd go off and you go, okay, what would you have done? What would you have done? How would you have handled that? And there's a flaw in the plot that I didn't love, where I just looked at it and I went like, well, that should not have happened. This very specific thing. I won't ruin it. So that messed it up a little bit for me. But I just like the idea. If you watch it, you'll know what I'm saying. Creates a situation where this person is in this. It's a real moral dilemma. I'll read you the description. Here's what the description is. Juror number 2 follows family man Justin Kemp, who, while serving as a juror in a high-profile murder trial, finds himself struggling with a serious moral dilemma, one he could use to sway the jury verdict and potentially convict or free the accused killer. It's an interesting situation. It's a moral dilemma. It's streaming on Max. You can watch it when your whole family collapses. You can watch it just like I did.
What's the best thing we've read?
Dan Wolken had a nice column, USA Today, about college football playoff after the 2 quarterfinal games yesterday, particularly the classic between Texas and Arizona State. So if you haven't read Wolken yet, go find that. It's at usatoday.com.
What's on tap for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow is Friday. I'll be back in studio, God willing. God willing. Be back in studio in Memphis. Jessica Benson, I think, will also be back in Memphis.
I think so. I think that's right. Let me double check, but I think she'll be here.
Yeah, she's up here with me right now.
Yeah, I know. I saw her having a New York week.
Yeah, I see her on Instagram, and I think maybe she saw me on Instagram. But outside of that, but I look forward. She'll be in studio with me tomorrow,
Good.
God willing. So we'll chop it up with her, and get ready for Grizz Kings in Sacramento tomorrow night. Should be fun. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll enjoy mine. We'll meet back here tomorrow at 10. Till then, be careful, be kind, be good. Rep your hood.